Yo, what's happening? It's another episode of Smoking with Two Tall. Sitting next to me, introduce yourself and drop your
The
socials.
real Goonie Jay at the real Goonie Jay everywhere. You know where to find me. Shout out to Too Tall.
Hell yeah, I appreciate you, bro. So we're going to start off by talking about your most streamed track, which is a bit of an older track, came out in 2022. It's Ghost.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit why you think people gravitated to that track specifically.
So that track's very interesting because it's a lot different than the majority of my catalog. At the time in my life when we released that song, when I released that song, I say we because it was more of a team effort. It was like I was about ready to hang it up with music, to tell you the truth. Like I had been making music since I was 9 years old, not really having much success with anything, investing everything I had into it and not seeing any sort of return. And what ended up happening was the original version of that song had a sample on it. I can't unfortunately name, whose sample it was. Song went super viral. It actually at one point surpassed the original record, and due to some copyright conflicts and stuff like that, I ended up catching a pretty massive lawsuit over it.
Okay.
So the audio that you hear now, I could show you the original version. It's a little bit different, but it's cool to see that like the retention and the people are still coming back. Because at first it was like one of those things where I'm like, is this sample the reason that I'm popping right now? You know what I mean? But since it's been swapped out, the song collectively has done 25 million streams. There was a version of it that was up before that got taken down. That being said, it's been swapped for about 30 days now. It just surpassed 1 million streams with the new version. So I'm super grateful that like it kind of told me, okay, you're not as much of a loser as you think you are almost. You know what I mean? Like
type shit.
Yeah. So
you said it was sounded different from your usual catalog. How would you describe your sound just as a whole?
My sound usually is more, I would say, like I'm not somebody who gets up on the mic and doesn't think about what they're saying. Like I'm very calculated with what I try to represent myself as. I try to be kind of a voice for people that are like me rather than niche out too much. So like the thing that's different, I'd say, with my music than a lot of my competition is like you can actually still find the story and the value behind it. So like with the Giving Tree, my most recent album, like the concept behind that was basically like mimicking the Shel Silverstein book. I don't know if you're familiar with that when we were kids, The Giving Tree.
Yep.
Basically, the concept is that there's a tree and a boy. The tree continuously gives to the boy continuously takes from the tree. And I felt like on my musical journey, it was the perfect way for me to express that, was being both sides. Sometimes I'm the boy, sometimes I'm the tree. So, I'd say that's more of like a reflection of who I am. And the majority of my music kind of fits into that sort of like style. Whereas Ghost was like more of like, let's make a hit song. You know what I mean? Let's do something that's going to just blow up. It was actually kind of a joke at first, and then we put it out, it clicked, and it worked the way it worked.
So then do you find yourself writing? Or are you a freestyler?
I like by myself, I freestyle often. Usually I try to write because like, to be real with you, bro, I try to be as economic as possible. So like even with studio sessions and stuff like that, it's like I try to come into the room knowing, okay, I'm going to lay down XYZ records. I'm going to use this much time, you know what I mean? So I try to be very calculated. I'm always open to, like any sort of collaborations and like spur of the moment things, but I try to make sure I'm very, very calculated.
Yeah, and you mentioned your most recent album. My personal favorite track on there was Villain in terms of like production. I thought that was like the hardest beat.
Thank you.
Who produced it? Like, do you produce your own beats?
So that one, I get most of my beats from BeatStars, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I have 3 or 4 producers that are overseas that I tend to gravitate towards. One of them was Coker Cho. I believe that's how you say his name. I believe he's from Russia. I'm trying to think offhand. I'm not gonna lie, I'm having a little brain fart right now. But
I feel you.
As far as who made that one, I don't know exactly. But I search around. I don't like to go local as much with like my craft, only for the reason that like I want to sound different than what's being presented.
Yeah.
So
And you had a release party for that album as well. Tell me a little bit about how that went. Like, what made you want to do a release party for it?
So the concept kind of for that was like, I do a lot of like nightclub events and like, strip club events and things like that, where it can't necessarily be everybody feeling awesome or welcome to be there.
Right.
Not that, we ever try to pitch it that way, but like, let's be real, like transparently, people have wives and, things like that. And sometimes the house dynamic, that's not the best venue to go.
Right.
So the difference with this one was it was like in my hometown, it was free entry for everybody. We tried to just make it so it's like, no matter who you are, you know what I mean? You're welcome to come. So that was kind of the concept of the album, of course. And then it fits on, you know what I mean, with what we're trying to do there. So a successful evening, good night. I had a couple opening acts. My buddy Edav, that's another artist from out in Connecticut. Two Hit, not too tall, Two Hit is another artist that opened up for me. But yeah, I'm definitely grateful to see like the community support, and then obviously like being here right now is cool to see. It doesn't matter where you go as long as you know present yourself right, you end up in the right room.
Hell
So
yeah.
you know.
And so, you mentioned some of those shows that you've done. Your first ever show that you hosted was with Rowdy Rebel in 2023.
Mhm.
How did that whole thing happen?
So that was actually a very interesting scenario. Like it wasn't necessarily like the first show, but it was like the first show that was mine.
Mm.
Basically, I had got a grant at one point from the town of Manchester because they saw that I was kind of blowing up like with my music and stuff. I had a pitch with them that was supposed to be we were going to bring an artist to town and allow, you know what I mean, for kids and local people to interact, vendors to be there. And unfortunately, the police department ended up vetoing that. They felt like it was too wild for it to be associated with the town. So we ended up bringing it over to Vernon right next door, literally probably like 10 miles away. And that was where I did Rowdy Rebel. We brought Joel Santana there, Millie's, a couple different people over there. So it was a cool little run, but that really transpired from like having something locked in and then watching it crumble in front of your eyes and then trying to figure out how to rebuild it and do it again. So
Oh,
it was a
yeah.
great experience, a good learning curve, you know?
And so, was that all before you did the interview on NBC of Connecticut?
That was actually, yeah, a little bit before that. Yep, yep.
Okay, so do you feel like the city would have given you as much like shit if you had like done that after, or like?
It's a tricky dynamic where I'm from because like just like New Hampshire, like cannabis laws are very fresh and new.
Mm,
Growing up, like that was my thing. Like I've been growing weed since I was 16 years old. You know what I mean? So I was back and forth to Maine. I got myself tied up in dumb shit. Am I allowed to swear on here? My fault.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know.
you
Okay.
good, you good.
I got myself tied up in dumb things and you know what I mean? Like moving in ways I shouldn't have been moving. So I step back and look at it and I go, can I really be mad that, you know, these people still hold a grudge? The only way to overcome that and get past it
Mm,
is to just kind of show them who you really are. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to go out and impress the police necessarily, but
right,
like
right.
as far as my peers go, I felt like I had an obligation to them because I didn't want to make a promise like, hey, I'm gonna bring this opportunity here and not do it. So to me, like that was like the fighting drive. It's like I don't want to be anybody with money. I don't want to be anybody with power. I always just want to show people like no matter who you are, even if you have nothing, you could get it done.
Oh yeah.
So, you know.
And you mentioned, you grow cannabis and shit like that. I was
Yep.
curious, was the Goonie Jay box on your website? Is that related to that?
Yeah, so we were initially gonna do some rolling papers. We ended up kind of putting a halt on that.
Okay.
Like merchandise wise and stuff. I'm kind of in a rebranding phase. My old logo was like this little goat that was like purple and green, and I'm not
Mm,
sure if yeah, I don't know. It's not quite what I was looking for. You know what I mean? So,
right.
but yeah, I had a basically a caregiver license out in Maine for a few years. So I was running under the company Goonie Genetics, and basically we would do everything from growing to harvesting. We worked with East Coast Gold out in Bangor, so that was who did a lot of my extracts and stuff like that. So I'm pretty like versed with it. But frankly, I kind of hung it up with the weed thing once music has gotten
Mm,
a little bit more, you know, lucrative. Initially, it was like, yeah, I want to use this weed thing to pump what I'm doing, but truthfully, like my love's been for music. Like I still smoke weed, you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Of course, but like the liability, the amount of team required to have it kind of scale the right way.
Mm,
That's another thing where it's like I don't necessarily want to allocate my time to that right now. I want to allocate it towards expanding, something that can reach all crowds. Like weed, as you know, is a very tight market.
right.
It's
It's a
like
niche.
if you don't smoke weed, it's like I'm not gonna be interesting to you. But no matter if you're, rich, poor, white, black, doesn't matter who you are. I like to think that my lyrics like resonate with people. So that's why I figured that was the one to really, pursue.
Hell yeah.
So
What is your favorite strain to like grow or smoke?
I'd say like if it's real Gorilla Glue 4, like the true
Hell yeah.
cut,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's probably my favorite. Of course, being from Connecticut, we're known for like sour diesel back when Max B was running around and doing his thing out there.
Hell
So
yeah.
probably one of those two, I say. How
Yeah.
about you? What do you be burning out usually?
I mean, it switches up a lot. Like, I like hazes, like, just in general. If it's a haze, I'll
Yeah.
probably gravitate to it. I like sativas more because I feel like, they take longer to grow. So I feel like they're more, like, refined,
Yep.
at least in terms of, like, taste and shit.
Yep.
But I don't know. I fuck with everything.
Word,
But
word.
you've performed with a lot of different people. What is your favorite performance that you've ever done?
Ironically, the favorite like celebrity, I guess, or like favorite interaction that was like a big crowd would actually be Fetty Wap, even though I didn't perform with him. So I performed right before he showed up. But like out of all of the artists that I've met in my entire life, like Fetty Wap was the most personable entertainer I've ever met. And frankly, the first one who was like, even before I had the streams and the numbers and stuff that I do now, he was like, just keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna make it. So to hear somebody that I used to listen to tell me that, that was kind of like my favorite performance for that fact.
Yeah.
But as far as like show wise, when I opened up for Polo G, that was like my most engaging one, I'd say. Like that was at Total Mortgage Arena down in Connecticut. I think about 5,500 people, 6,000 people or so. So like hearing the crowd scream and like kind of co-sign what you're doing, for lack of a better term, it felt good to do that at home too. So
Oh,
those
yeah.
would probably be my two favorite.
Yeah, and another celebrity that you flicked up with was Jules Santana. Y'all was next to
Yep.
him in a Maybach. What about that one? How'd that happen?
So that I actually did two shows with Joel's. The first one I opened up for him down in Waterbury, Connecticut. That was when Lit Ultra Lounge was still open. And growing up, like I Can't Feel My Face and Lil Wayne, and you know those two together are what kind of inspired me to make rap music. So I started there, did the opening act, gave him some weed, broke the ice. And then when shit started rolling the right way, that was the first person that popped in my mind for doing the event in Manchester. So initially it was Rowdy and Joel's supposed to be at the same time.
Ah, okay.
And then Joel's came through for, you know, the secondary event after that. So yeah, that was definitely cool too, for sure.
Hell yeah.
For sure.
I peeped on one of the pages. It mentioned how you were a father. Do you find it difficult to balance everything while doing the music?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But like the only thing that's tough to balance about it is more so the time than anything. I think that like the effort and the activity of being a father, that's never been difficult to me. I do have both of my kids the majority of the time, 4 or 5 days a week. I'm still currently with my son's mother. So, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not hard to do the family thing. What is hard is like clocking out of the family thing and then showing up to a nightclub and putting on the game face and that kind of thing. But like, as far as like at a love level or a nurturing level, it almost makes me more appreciative of the music. Reason being is like, I'm not somebody that didn't work a job. You know what I mean? I've worked jobs from the time I was 15 till about 26.
Yeah.
And seeing the amount of time I have for my family through music, it just makes me want to go harder. So it's like a double entendre almost,
Hell yeah.
you know?
And in terms of your name, I noticed on your most popular video that was on your channel, it was "I Do It for the Turn Up." It said that your name was JC, and I also saw a song called "Bullies." You were going by JC. So what happened with your name change? Why'd you go with Goonie Jay now?
So initially it was Demolition Squad JC when I was a kid. But I felt like one, that was too long, and then JC was just too kind of generic. No personality behind it. Like, as you can see, I'm big on the double entendre thing. So the point of Goonie was like, you don't know if I'm making joke rap or you don't know if I'm making gangster rap until you listen to it.
Right.
So it was supposed to be to kind of confuse people and make them want to, you know what I mean, do what they're doing. But pardon me, what was the original question? Just so I can make sure.
How'd you get your name, just in general?
Oh, okay. So yeah, that covers that.
Hell yeah. And so I peeped that you did a diss on Diddy in 2017 called Parental Advisory. Did Diddy diss Connecticut or something?
Yeah,
like, what was the story with that?
I mean, hey, I guess it held up right at this point.
Yeah,
With
right?
how things are going, whatever, you know. But no, so he went on, I forgot if it was America's Got Talent or what it was, but he said something along the lines of like, nobody from Connecticut has talent. And essentially, like, I think it was because he was mad at Cassie, because Cassie's from Connecticut.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think it was one of those like subliminal, you kind of outrage in public and, you know, pitch your energy out. But everybody was bent out of shape about it. I had no platform, no nothing at that time. So I was like, fuck it, why not? Let's just see what happens. But I've toyed with deleting that for so many years. And like, it's funny you bring that up because once all the Diddy shit started happening, it's not at like 1 million streams or anything, but the streams slowly started trickling in again. And I'm laughing because it's like, wow, the way things change, you know? Like,
it's funny how that shit works sometimes.
Yeah.
So tell me about a more recent music video that you did in 2024, What You Want. How do you feel like you've developed in terms of like your music videos?
So I'd say music videos are like my, my like worst enemy because frankly, like I don't have a lot of super duper professional, media and stuff like that. I'll say this, like What You Want was the first kind of example of me being able to be 100% myself
Hell yeah.
for my, clients and listeners and people like that. Because I think as musicians, um, we want the traffic, we want the numbers, we want the pop value. But what a lot of us fail to realize is like our consumers are still people.
Mm.
So that record to me was important enough to put a visual behind it because I felt like there's probably a lot of people in a similar position, maybe not necessarily with music, but with their day job and things like that. As you asked earlier, juggling that with children and bringing families together and things like that. So yeah, that was important to me for sure.
Oh yeah. And another music video I wanted to touch on was On My Soul. That was in 2023
Yep.
with PGF Nuke,
Yep.
You're very sparing with like your features, like there's almost none. So what made you want to collab with him?
He was local, to be real with you. He was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
coming through Connecticut. The big reason, frankly, I just don't do a lot of features is because getting a primary feature these days versus getting a feature is not the easiest task. A lot of artists don't know that, like, if you don't submit your metadata right, essentially you're going to get none of the benefits of working with these artists.
Mm,
So there, and unless there's some sort of way for me to synchronize or get in touch with, the people who are actually in charge of that
right.
decision making level, I tend to not do a lot of features. You know what I mean? And I also don't think, like at a brand level, like even though I have streams and I have a loyal fan base, like I don't think I'm quite at the point yet where I want to completely go left field and just try to be attention.
Mm,
I think I want to build my own platform to a point that people are super comfortable with me, and then it's more of like an extension of what I'm doing rather than chasing what I'm doing.
hell yeah.
So
Tell me a little bit about how that music video went like that day. Walk me through the day because it looked pretty lit.
yeah, it was fun. Yeah, he was just in town, honestly, and I hit him up on Instagram. I was like, "You want to do this record?" He pulled up to the studio, and the next day, we just shot the video for it. So it was just all local spots. I think it was Drip Boutique, if I'm not mistaken,
Mm,
where we shot that video at. Shout out to Benny. Shout out to Get Rich or Starve Smash. Those two gentlemen got awesome clothing lines down in Connecticut. That was where we shot that video at, and then I believe it was. Oh God, I'm trying to think where we did because it was a similar venue to this, like how you guys have the white wall and the green wall and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. The warehouse, they're based out of Hartford as well, so kind of similar dynamic. And obviously, being a creative, like Nook has a bigger platform than me, so when he was around, it made sense to
Type
go
shit.
where we went. So
Hell
it was
yeah.
lit.
What's your favorite song that you've recorded that's released?
My favorite song. Oh boy.
I
Um,
know, hard question.
Probably No Clocking In.
Mm,
That's off my new project. It's a little bit more of a pop vibe, kind of, than like a rap vibe per se. But I think it's a great illustration of me. Um, I don't make millions of dollars off music, but I make enough where it makes it worth it. And I think that's the purpose of the song is just telling people just chase your dreams, be the person you want to be. I know it sounds cliche, but like when people can see somebody that's closer to where they're at in life, it makes it relatable. It makes it possible. It makes it achievable. Like I want to be that person who kind of bridges the gap.
mm.
You know what I mean? I think No Clocking In is like a great example of that.
So then, what do you love about being a creator and making music, and what's something that you dislike about it?
The best, like the most gratifying thing I would say is like just the fact that like the words resonate with people. So like I've gotten a lot of messages from countries that I never knew my music would reach. Like frankly, people who are using Google Translate to communicate with me at times. And it's
Mm,
like when they hit me up and they say, "Hey, this song, impacted the way I felt about this situation in my life," and they share those stories with me, it makes the possibility of quitting impossible. It's really what makes me want to continue to make music. The most difficult things I would say is the fact that like a lot of people work for money, and obviously, it sounds counterproductive as an artist to say no, I don't want money. It sounds cliche. It sounds corny. But the thing is there's not a lot of us that love music the way that I love music. Like I said, I've been doing it since I was 9. I'm 29 years old now. It just started working when I was 26.
mm.
So I think a lot of people have a hoop dream. And the rare people that you do find that really embrace music for what it is, I do try to collaborate with them. But that's the biggest like bump in the road or obstacle, I'd say, is just separating and migrating away from people who are going to interrupt the motion that you're building.
Oh, yeah. And so in 2019, you dropped a project that was called the Free Goonie Jay.
Yep.
Um, What was that release like? Like, were you locked up during that
Yeah, so
time?
that
So,
I actually released it the day I turned myself in. So that was back when I got jammed up for the weed stuff. The state pretty much gave me an option and was like, you can either be a felon and not go to jail, or you could go to jail for 6 months and we'll put it as misdemeanors. So, to me at the time, my girlfriend was pregnant, was getting ready for fatherhood, and I was like, this is my last run with music. Let's see what people think of it. And I dropped the tape, came back out. I noticed the numbers were higher than what they were before, and I was just like, okay, we can give this shit a shot, see if it works, and that's kind of how we got here today.
hell yeah. And in terms of like stuff in the future for your fans to look forward to, what's some stuff that you got vaulted coming up?
So I got about 9 records that I'm getting ready to release. I'm in negotiations at the moment with a couple different labels to try and get something worked out for distribution.
Hmm,
So at the moment, I'm not releasing just because I don't want to give out more real estate than I need to.
right.
So I'd say like if you're looking for new Goonie Jay music, you're gonna get a couple singles here and there throughout the rest of the winter. But April, we're gonna see a big uptick. I'm gonna probably do another album. As far as a tour goes, like all of my big markets, I'm aiming for those right now. So I've done a lot of stuff on the East Coast, but Midwest is kind of where I'm going next. Houston, Texas is a big market for me. Denver, Colorado, Seattle, obviously that's a little farther west. New Mexico is a big one for me. Like shout out to all the people over there. I don't know how y'all heard my music, but like you guys are making it possible. So thank you for that.
Hell yeah.
But that's kind of the next check off the box. You're gonna see a tour coming soon. So
Hell yeah. I'm not sure if we touched on this yet or if it was off camera, but you did say you had a G Herbo concert coming up, and you
yep.
did use that interview that I mentioned earlier. Where's that going to be at? So
So
people
that
know.
one's going to be October 18th. That one is at the Oakdale Theater in Wallingford, Connecticut. 8 p.m. Anybody that needs tickets, feel free to holler at me. 50% off for anybody that watches this podcast. Just message me and say I saw Too Tall, and then
Hell yeah.
what do you call it? That's going to be a great event. G Herbo is going to be there. Pluto's going to be there. Zeddy Will, kind of like a TikTok kind of style rapper. I know he's got a couple dance songs and stuff, so it should be a good vibe. That should be a good vibe for sure.
Hell yeah. And I saw a clip where you were speaking at your old, I think it was your old high school
Yep.
in Manchester.
Yep.
Tell me about how that happened. Like, what made you want to do that?
Crazy Manchester, right?
Right.
Like
I
the irony of
know.
it.
I was thinking that too.
So like that kind of came to fruition once I crossed, I'd say about it was like 2 or 3 million streams. This was maybe 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. I circled back and contacted my school because at the time when I was going to school, I was actually the first person in the town's history to do a solo concert as a student.
Hmm,
So basically, like what I did was when I was in high school, this is like 2013, 2014. I put together a mixtape. I pitched the superintendent. I pitched the principals on it. They approved it. We sold tickets and we put all the money towards prom and you know what I mean, senior activities and stuff like that. So I felt like it was only fitting 10 years later, like it's kind of working now. Might as well show these kids it can work. Like
hell yeah.
I think a lot of kids don't necessarily get to believe in their dreams. Like they shoot them down too quick. So it's important that people like ourselves that are young pursuing what we love, like we really got to speak out and help out where we can.
Oh yeah, that's just definitely
So,
inspirational to people. And so I'm gonna go back to some features that you did for other people.
yep.
You did Never Defeated by Adversity. Didn't write what year that was, but that was a little while
Mhm.
back. Why'd you want to do a track with him?
He's just honestly a motivated artist. Like frankly, I'll work with anybody, brother. Like as long as your metadata and your, you know what I mean, your situation is in order. Like I'm down to work with anybody. It doesn't matter if you make country music, rap music. I don't care.
Oh yeah.
Adversity just happened to be in the studio a couple times. I don't frankly know him too well, but he was just a friend of a friend, and it seemed like it made sense. And I like the record. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's how the features go, bro. Like a lot of people will DM and be like, "Oh, what's the feature price?" It's no feature price. All you got to do is be organized. As long as you're organized and we can upload and connect, you know what I mean, and do it properly, like I'll work with you. I don't charge for features. Now, would I pay for a feature? Do I see the logic in it? Absolutely. I just kind of want to be a little bit different than what everybody else has going on.
Oh yeah. And so was it a similar situation with the track Run It Up with Witty?
Yep. So actually, Woody's a great friend of mine. We went to high school together. He came up with that beat and just snapped in the studio, and I just jumped on it. It was, Small City was a great studio. Actually, I don't record there anymore. I've been recording down at Sound Loft and at
Mm,
Connecticut Studio, and Connecticut People Records. So 3 different studios. One out of Hartford, Wallingford, and then one out of Bridgeport. So. But yeah, Small City was a great spot, and it was just a lot of cool people that pulled through there. So that's where all those features came from.
Oh yeah,
Now it's more like kind of closed off sessions usually when we do it. Before it was more like people in and out, and if it made sense, it made sense. So
type shit.
yeah.
And so, what are some studio essentials then that when you be going to the studio, is there anything like, oh, I need this? Or,
I need the engineer to love what he's doing.
mm,
You know what I mean? I don't necessarily want the engineer to be in charge of making the hit. I think that's my job, but I think it's important to have chemistry with the people you work with. I think if it's literally you're clocking in and like I'm your paycheck, you're my paycheck, it's never going to go where it needs to go.
right.
Obviously, pay your engineers properly, take care of them properly. That's like rule number one. But once you find a good engineer, keep them around. They're gold. Seriously, they're gold because like anybody can write words. You know what I mean? Anybody can spit things out of their mouth. Anybody can hit a drum set. But like if you don't know how to put it together the right way and make it sound good to the listener, you don't have your music. So
Mm.
those people are important. People are definitely important.
And in terms of the last feature that I could really find was
Mhm.
South, which is on one of your songs.
Mhm.
Was Swag Dinero. Is that
Yep.
was like another situation?
Yeah, so I got a record with P Rico. It's kind of ironic because I got records with P Rico, Swag De Niro, and PGF Nook,
Mm.
which obviously, as most people know, they don't necessarily get along. You know what I mean? But basically, how it transpired with Swag and Rico was like similar situation. This was, I think, 2015. Initially, that Rico came down to Connecticut, was recording in Bridgeport. Sent him a message on Twitter. I said, "Hey, you want to work?"
Mm.
He, for whatever reason, said, yeah, drove down to Bridgeport. We laid the song down. We did the record, put that out. And then a couple weeks later, Swag hit me up and goes, oh, you want to go up to New York sometime? And kicked it a few times. A couple years later, we put together South and it just was a cool record. But yeah, shout out to those guys. Honestly, I think a lot of Chicago artists get a bad rap. Like those are some very personable, awesome human beings to do business with for
Oh
real.
yeah.
Yeah, they definitely like didn't try to white boy me, didn't try to take
Yeah.
advantage of me, you know what I mean? Like great artists to work with. So shout out to them for sure.
Oh yeah. And I peeped that you was doing something with Millie's. There's something on your YouTube with you and him in Connecticut.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
that?
We did a couple events together. I did a weed festival with Mills out in Mass. I did the Webster twice with Mills, brought him to the strip club. Yeah, we've done a couple things together. He's a good dude, stand-up guy for sure. And I think similar demographic as well, too. Like I think he tries to be true to himself and does a good job of it, resonating with his fans and stuff. So a lot of mutual acquaintances, a lot of great people on his team as well. So, it's cool to see somebody who the first time I met him was about 4 years ago, 5 years ago out in Bangor,
Mm.
just trying to give him some weed at a meet and greet.
Oh yeah.
Didn't even at first tell him I was a rapper. And then over the years, I've seen him, go from 100,000, 200,000 streams to the millions and millions that he's got now. So it's cool to see somebody else doing what I'm doing and like motivating me as well too. So
Oh yeah. If you had to give some advice to your younger self that was like just starting off with the music shit, what would you tell yourself?
be more confident. I think that like the one of the toughest objections with being a creative is a lot of times we sit here and hyper analyze what we're doing. I think that like in my shoes personally, like I didn't put out an album for 2 years after Ghost because I wanted it to be so perfect. But like that's not the best thing to do because you leave your fans waiting. I'd say like be confident in what you're doing. Don't ever stop what you're doing. And then also like once the foot is on the gas, you can't lift it up. You either need to commit, we're gonna keep going with this run, or we're gonna stop altogether. Like so that's my best piece of advice I'd say is like put your foot on the gas and don't pick it up,
Oh yeah.
you know.
And so in terms of like legacy and how you want like your fans and other people to like view you, what do you want that to be? Say like 10, 15 years from now you accomplish everything.
Um, so like frankly, if it all stopped right now and nobody listened to me again today, I'd still feel as accomplished as I need to with music, not because of any particular number or anything, but because of the conversation we had prior, the fact that there is people that it's resonated with. I would say like at a legacy level, I just would want people to know that, that I basically gave my full for everything. Like it wasn't for me, it was for all of us. Every song I make, every show I do, every production that goes into these things, it's not just for me, it's for my family, it's for the people who support, it's for the people who have similar mindsets, and having a voice too. Like um, I think like as well, like a lot of artists kind of struggle with the confidence level of like, hey, I don't have the chain yet, or I don't have the car yet, and this and that. So I'd like my legacy to be like, this guy blew up wearing a Hanes t-shirt. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah.
that means more to me, but not like on some J. Cole, like over the top, like
Right.
just more so like you work, you get it done, and you make it happen. So that's really the value I want to bring to people, you know?
Oh yeah. And so, is there any other like creative avenues other than music that you see yourself delving into the future, like fashion or movies or
Um,
anything like that?
I'm not the most stylish. Shout out to Easy Money. This is one of my buddy's clothing lines, by the way. Definitely a fire hoodie. But I'm not necessarily the most creative with everything else. I'll be real with you. I'm big on so like with music, right? Like I won't engineer myself. I won't make my own beats, and it's not because like I want to go to some certain person. It's because I value professionalism.
Mm,
I think that like if we want to be the best at what we do, we have to kind of reach out and do things like that. So like maybe I would mess around with fashion, or maybe I would mess around with stuff like that. But I would rather more so like just engage with all communities, sort of. I'd be more prone to like maybe host a music event that I don't perform at,
mm.
rather than kind of switch into a different lane. You know what I mean? So
Oh yeah. And I saw in a vlog that you mentioned, you were just talking about engineers that you work with.
mhm.
Is Vint Beats someone that like engineered your music?
Yeah, absolutely. So Vent is a great friend of mine, Drew McNally. He actually goes by Beats by Drew now.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, recently he just switched up his
Yeah, I
name
was
last
wondering
year.
why when I clicked on it, it didn't go to the.
Nothing
Okay,
over
so
there.
that's
Yeah,
why.
yeah. That's why Beats by Drew. Shout out to him. He's been rocking with me since the beginning of the journey. That's he doesn't do my production or my engineering part of me. He does a lot of my beats. So
Mm,
the my favorite thing about him though, bro, like circling back to the copyright conversation, he does not use loops for
mm.
anything. There's no splice, there's no none of that. Every melody he uses, he makes from scratch.
Hell yeah.
So if I'm looking to like really pump a record, that's who I go to. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. In terms of collaboration with other artists, either dead or alive, who's like a future or like a dream collab that you would have wanted to do?
Definitely Wayne. Like Wayne is number one influential on me in history. But I would say like I'd almost be more curious to kind of do like a pop record or something with somebody, because like I can write other music, I just can't hold a note for shit.
Right.
Like that's why like I liked country when I was like real young, from like 5 to 7, and then I got into poetry because I couldn't hold notes. And then I, met a couple friends. They put me on to rap music, and all of a sudden I'm listening to "I Smell Pussy" by 50 Cent at 10 years old, and I'm like, oh, this is it, So, yeah, bro. I don't know necessarily, but yeah, yeah.
Who are some of your other influences, like musically?
Uh, I would say like Green Day, Yellow Card, Wayne, Joel Santana, uh, Fetty Wap was big for me. Um, Honestly, man, people are gonna shit on me for this one, but Nickelback.
Oh, okay. Hell
Like
yeah.
Nickelback was fire too. Like, and it circles back to substance, right? Like at the time, like when Green Day dropped American Idiot, I was like 10 years old, 9 years old, and I couldn't process what they were, talking about and saying. And then like growing up and being older, I listened to it and I'm like, this still resonates. Like that's why this is timeless music. So actually, for your legacy question, I'll circle back. I want to be known for timeless music.
Hell yeah.
I think that timeless music is dying, and like that's something I'd want to be known for too. So
Hell yeah. And I see that the Ghost lyric video just came out 3 weeks ago.
yep.
Even though the track's so old, like why did that just come out now?
So basically my thought with that was like it's only been a still photo for the whole time. The original one, it literally just said Ghost on it, and then now this one is just my locally goated album cover. So I wanted something that was like where people can look at it and sing along with it and know what I'm saying too if they're not sure. But
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
that circled in with the whole copyright debacle. So
Hell yeah. And so how would people describe you in your personal life, like outside of the music,
um
personality wise?
I'd say somebody that should sleep more, most likely. That would be what what most of my friends would say. But no, like courteous, caring for the most part, aware, vigilant, probably, and cautious. Like I am, like I said, like the book, The Giving Tree, bro. I'm both sides of it, depending on where we're going with life. I've been the good guy, I've been the bad guy. I try to be the good guy now. I think that like I do a better job than I used to of doing that.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, it'd be positive vibes. Um, I don't really have any enemies. I don't have to walk around with my gun and all that all the time. I'm good to go pretty much everywhere I go because I
Yeah.
don't pick fights or, itch things that shouldn't be itched,
Right. Stay out the way.
Yeah,
Type shit.
So that's probably what they tell you. Peaceful
Uh-huh.
guy.
Hell yeah. Well, I want to thank you for coming all the way out here, man. Drop your
Definitely.
socials one more time for the
Definitely
camera.
at the real Goonie Jay. Make sure you check me out. Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. All I ask is if you do listen to one record, make sure you listen to it all the way through so we get that retention time up. But thank you, Too Tall, for having me come by. It's been a pleasure to be up here in New Hampshire. Any New Hampshire artists that would like to work, I'd be happy to work with y'all. So feel free to give me a ring anytime. But
Hell yeah. Thank you
definitely
again, bro. I appreciate you coming out
for
here.
sure.
So it's been Smoking with Too Tall. Y'all uplift yourself.
Definitely. We'll see y'all in the future.
Hell yeah.